Okay, so yesterday I asked a question about what are some things that are holding you back from pursuing your dream in 2020, since it's coming up here in a month or so. And I got a couple of responses, and I wanted to address some of them, and some of them are very similar, so I won't address each response directly, but I wanted to address 4 or 5 of the most common ones, the most common things that people said that are holding them back from pursuing their dream in 2020.
I fear what others will think about it, especially family, since they mock every dream I have.
Okay. So this is probably one of the biggest things that's holding people back. There's no way around fear. Honestly, there's always going to be a little bit of a fear inside of us, because anytime we're stepping out of our comfort zone, anytime we're doing something different, anytime we're doing something out of the ordinary, there's always going to be a little bit of fear behind it. And fear was never a bad thing. Fear was never started out as being a bad thing. You know, when you're little, your mom tells you to fix your hair, fix your shirt, don't do that, don't do this, don't pick your nose in public. So the fear that we have of what other people might think, it never started out as a bad thing. We're social beings, we're social creatures, and it's a good thing not to pick your nose in public. So it's a good thing to bounce off what you think about certain things around other people. But the problem is we've taken this fear and we've taken it and we ran with it. We've taken it into our adult life. And so now when we want to do something different than what everyone else around us is doing, we are terrified about what people are going to say about us. And the only way through a fear, the only way past these kind of fears is just to start doing something, start somewhere. And that's the problem is a lot of us were so afraid to even start, or we're so afraid of what people think that we don't even start on something. But one thing I can tell you is that if you at least start, even if it's something small, if you start working towards your dream, you'll see that the fears start to fade away once things start to become a little bit more clear. Once you know exactly where you're headed, things are going to start clearing up for you, and it's going to be a little bit less scary. One thing I wanted to address, or two things I wanted to address for this specifically, is there are two things that create real fear inside of us, and these are legitimate fears. So it's not always just in your head. There are a few things that are legitimate fears. One of these things is that a lot of us we've judged and put down other people's dreams for so long. We're very critical about other people, whether they're posting on social media, they're talking about it. We have criticized other people for so long that when it's time for us to step out and start to pursue our dream, we're absolutely terrified to even start, because we're afraid that people are going to judge us in the same way that we've been judging other people. A lot of us are guilty of that. I may have been guilty of that myself in the past, and the only way to break past this, the only way to break past this mentality and this fear is to become the most encouraging person that you know. Start encouraging people. Go out of your way to encourage any of your friends that are starting a business, any of your friends that are starting something new. Go out of your way to purchase their product. Go out of your way to send them a message and encourage them. And you'll see the more encouragement you give, the more you're going to receive. And so if you're terrified of what people are going to say about you, if you're terrified of people judging you, then make sure you just become the most encouraging person, and you'll see how much of that you start getting back, and that's going to help you get past a lot of your fears. Second thing I wanted to address, which is another real fear. A lot of us will talk a lot about all the things that we're going to do. It feels good to post it on Facebook. It feels good to talk about all the things that you're going to do. And to be honest, we can't expect family, friends, and people to support us when we haven't shown them that we can follow through on some of these things that we talk about. Sometimes we will post about it, we'll talk about something, and then the next week we've already moved on to something else. We've already forgotten about it, we've already started another business, we've already moved on to the next idea. And so you can't really blame people for not supporting you, for not encouraging you, when every other week they see you doing something else. They see you give up on the thing that you talked about last week and already moving on to the next thing. So that's as far as fear goes, that's a real reason to be afraid, because it is the responsibility. The responsibility is on us. We haven't followed through, and so we can't expect people to support us if we haven't been the ones to follow through. And so the only way to get past this is to start talking about it a little bit less and actually start taking action on it. See, if we're afraid that our family, our friends aren't supporting us, but they haven't seen us do anything. They haven't seen us actually try and move forward and do all these things. We can't expect them to support us. But one thing I can tell you, when your family, your friends, and people around you, when they see you not talking about it, but they actually see you go out and start doing some of these things, go out and try, and they see you persist, and they see you day after day, week after week, actually be working towards this thing, all of a sudden you'll see how supportive friends and family and people around you actually are. I've noticed this for myself and my own personal things. When I stopped talking about certain things and I started doing them, I started getting out there and not to show people what I'm doing, but actually legitimately taking steps towards my dream. I noticed how many people then went out of their way to reach out to me and say, hey, I've been watching you. I've watched your journey for a long time. I've seen you start this thing, and I've seen you persist after it and keep going after it. And that's going to be one of the most amazing things you'll experience is you'll see how many people actually do want to support you, how many people actually do want to encourage you and actually do believe in you, but you have to show them that you're actually willing to follow through with it. Because if you're just talking about doing things just because you want someone to clap for you, you want somebody to encourage you, that's not going to happen for you. Because people, if people are going to support you, they're only going to support you when they've seen you actually walk the walk instead of just talking about all the things that you're going to do.
I lack the courage and confidence in myself and my ability.
There's no way around this one. There's no way to suddenly develop confidence besides just going out there, trying it, going out there and be willing to look stupid, be willing to make a mistake, be willing to screw up a little bit, because that's the only way that you're actually gonna be able to develop some confidence in yourself. If I'm playing a sport that I've never played before, I will not be confident to go out there and compete against somebody who's been doing it for a long time, because it's something that I haven't done before. But if I have been putting in the practice, if I have been putting in the work, if I have been I've been stepping out, getting myself out of my comfort zone, then confidence starts to grow just naturally, because it's something that you've already put a few repetitions in, you've already tried, you've already failed a couple of times, but there's no way of just developing a confidence in yourself, a confidence in your ability. The only way, there's no easy way, the only way is to truly step out and just to start. Just be willing to look stupid, just be willing to try, and just be willing to get yourself out there, put yourself out there and get yourself in front of people, and then your confidence will start building up. But there's no shortcuts around that.
I fear making mistakes.
You're gonna make mistakes. There's no way around that either. There's gonna be, matter of fact, the more mistakes you make, the quicker you're gonna learn. In my own personal journey with speaking, with writing, writing my book and getting out there on stages, if I wasn't making mistakes, I wouldn't be able to get to the level I'm at right now, and to the level that I want to go to. And it's the scariest thing. It is one of the scariest things, because if I'm already out there, I'm already charging people, I already have a product, I already have a book out there. The scariest thing to do is now to take it to the next level. Because if I make a mistake on something that I haven't tried before or nobody really knows about, it's one thing, it's embarrassing. But the further along you're gonna get, the scarier it is gonna get to make a mistake. Because if I'm already, one of the biggest things I'm afraid of, when I'm stepping out onto a stage, is being able to provide the kind of value for the audience, for the person that hired me, for the person that brought me in, being able to kind of provide the kind of value that they expect, or the kind of value that I want to provide. But if I'm not willing to make mistakes, then I'm never going to move forward. I'm always going to stay at the same exact level that I've always been at. And that's one thing you're going to have to ask yourself is this dream that I have, is this vision that I have, is this business idea that I have, is it worth it enough for me to put all of myself into it, to try as many times as I can try, to fail as many times as I fail, and am I willing to do what it's going to take to become that person, to achieve that dream, to accomplish or to succeed in that business. So it really comes down to, it's not a matter of will you make mistakes, you will make mistakes, but it's a matter of, is it worth the effort that it's going to take to achieve? Is this dream worth it for you enough to where you might even have to look stupid, you might have to fail and make some mistakes along the way?
I worry about the finances it will bring in.
This is a great question. a lot of people jump into a business. A lot of people have a dream, they have an idea, they have a vision, but they haven't thought practically about it. They haven't been realistic about it. And when I say realistic, I'm not talking about be realistic. That's never possible for you, like the cliche thing that we hear. When I say be realistic, I'm saying do the math, do the research. Figure out. If I'm not the kind of person, if I don't have the kind of skills, the kind of talents, the kind of resources that it's going to take to achieve this, then I need to be realistic about what is it going to take to accomplish those things. See, a lot of people will, they jump into an idea, they jump into a business, or they jump into a dream, and they haven't even thought through what it's actually going to take. They haven't done enough research into it, and so many people quit, so many people fail, and then they get angry that nobody supported them along the way. But it's up to us to do the research. It's up to us to figure out if we're not that kind of person right now, who do we have to become in order to achieve that? What are the realistic, what are the necessary, what are the very practical things that we have to accomplish, or that we're going to have to achieve to be able to become that kind of person. And so if we're worried about something like finances, which is obviously a huge thing, if you're worried that your dream, this idea, this business that you want to start, that it's not going to provide enough finances for you, then you have to be smart and make sure that you don't just jump into it and burn all your bridges and leave your job and step into this business, and then just to find out that it's not going to make you enough money to even support yourself. So you definitely have to be smart about that. And in my personal journey, what I did was, when I had my dream to get out and start speaking and writing, I had to make sure that I didn't just jump into it, because there was so much that I had to learn, and it took me so much longer to get to where I wanted to go than I originally thought that it was going to take. And so if I would have just quit my job and jumped into this thing, I would have been broke or in a whole lot of debt up to this point before I started learning how to actually make money in this thing. And so finances, that's a real thing. That's something that you have to be practical and smart about, and make sure that make sure that business is already making money, or how it's going to make money, and you've actually witnessed it happening before you transition out of your current job or out of your current situation. So definitely be smart, especially if you have family, you have kids, and you have bills to pay, mortgages. Make sure that it's a calculated step, and if it doesn't make money for you right away, then make sure that it's a smoother transition. So try to hold on to what you're making money on as long as you can, to the point where now this new business, this new thing is making enough money for you to where you can safely make that transition. I know it's a sexy thing to say, burn your bridges, just jump in because there's no way around it, but that's just not true. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that fail and have to go back to their job, and it's a lot more miserable to completely fall on your face and embarrass yourself and have to go back when you can be smart about it. You can make a safer transition, and that's going to be a lot easier for you than just jumping in.
I fear failing at it.
Fear failing at it. Fear of failure is that's probably going to be one of the biggest things. I think that's the biggest thing for everybody. I think that with this thing, I think a fear of failure comes a lot more from within. It's not, we're not necessarily, we are afraid of what people are going to think of us if we fail, but so many times we don't even believe in this thing that we want to accomplish ourselves, and that's why we're so afraid of what people think when we fail at it. And the only way past this is to start developing a belief in yourself. If I truly know that I'm going to accomplish this dream that I'm setting out to accomplish, then I'm a lot less afraid of what people are going to say, what people are going to think, because in my mind, I already know that I've already accomplished it. In my mind, I see it as already done, as already accomplished, as this goal, this dream already achieved. And so fear of failure, oftentimes it comes from us not actually believing in ourselves. Fear of failure comes when if we're so afraid of what people are going to think of us if we fail, then that's a pretty good indicator that we don't believe it in ourselves. And so before we even start on something, we're already thinking about all the things that people are going to say to us when we fail, when we haven't accomplished this thing. But there's another one of those things where there's no way around it. It's just something that you're going to have to get out and you're gonna have to start developing a bigger belief in yourself. And the only way to start believing in yourself is to, one, get your mind right, see it as it's already accomplished, to the point where you start to feel it, and you start to live as if it's already accomplished, as if it's already completed. But then that has to be followed by action. Just like with confidence, like we were talking about, developing a stronger confidence. You're never going to develop a belief in yourself if you haven't gone out there and tried, if you haven't gone out there and made mistakes, if you haven't gone out there and already taken certain steps towards that thing.